Why are you so quiet? You haven't said anything in ages. For the introverts out there, have you ever wondered what happens if you could meet up in a space that was designed for you, filled with like-minded people, where you won't be spoken over, and a place where people would value and respect your presence, accepting you for exactly who you are? Some might consider this an introvert utopia. Well, I've been working on this idea for the last 3 years, as I've seen a lot of theories of how this would play out, but little evidence of anyone actually doing it. So I wanted to see how it goes down in the real world. This video is a bit of an overview of how something that started off as an experiment has evolved way beyond an experiment, and not only into a real thing, but permanently changed my life for the better. I'll be posting new videos of what I've learnt and other interesting observations. Drop a comment below if there's something you'd like to know, and click the subscribe button to stay up to date with those releases. In summary, you will learn how a community has grown from me and a few others, sometimes just me by myself, to now a thriving community and regular event that attracts over 100 introverts every fortnight and continues to grow, with the community recently hitting over 4,300 members. In this video, I'll be discussing how it all started, why I started running introvert events, the struggle of running events, the direct benefit I got out of it, how it evolved, and where it is today. So, how it got started. I reached a point where my friendship circle had dwindled to a critical level, so much so that it prompted me to take drastic action. I searched how to make friends and even Googled Tinder for friends. Looking for events locally, I found a platform called Meetup. It was a social platform where you can go to real-life events and meet others with similar interests. So the prospect of going to an event was terrifying. I signed up to a few and went along. Now I distinctly remember one event. So I went to it. It was a business networking one, which I thought was a presentation, only to discover it was a live workshop starting with the Circle of Death. This is where you go one by one, introducing yourself and telling everyone something about you. My heart started pounding immediately, and with no way to escape and kind of sweat beading down my head, I just waited for everyone's turn to go, trying to fabricate something to say quickly. I didn't hear a word of what anyone else was saying. I fumbled my words out. It left quite a bad taste in my mouth. I went to other events where they were loud and shouty. They're kind of like party night out socials with people trying to impress each other and general superficial chit chat. I left feeling pretty despondent and drained of my energy every time. Anyway, persisting with my efforts, I found an introverts group, and I remember they had a drinks meetup. I thought, I'll give this a go. It sounds pretty interesting. So when I went to my first introverts meetup, I got to the front door, I walked to the group of people in this pub, and I remember my heart started to pound again, and my legs were like, no, we are not going there. They did a 180 and walked straight out. I was so anxious about meeting new people at a kind of sit-down arrangement, I just couldn't face it. So I left the building and had a walk around the block a few times before returning. I remember feeling like really pretty horrible at this time. I was just, really anxious. Anyway, I walked up the stairs when I saw someone who looked as petrified as I did in this kind of narrow staircase. I plucked the courage to ask him if he, by any chance, was looking for the same meetup, and he said yes. So we walked over. I've since been to hundreds of meetups and now run multiple events, so it definitely can be done and you can get comfortable with it. So I met some people who I totally resonated with. They had similar thoughts and feelings. It was truly liberating. It was at this point I finally realised that I could really let go of my guard and didn't have to hide it, and could share those feelings face to face with like-minded people. It was one of the best feelings I've ever had, especially coming from social circles with lots of outspoken characters and a workplace that promoted outspokenness and penalised quietness. I left the event feeling like there are others who feel like me, and I'm not the only one. After the event, I was pretty tired and felt pretty drained, but for one of the first times in my life, I felt a kind of energy I'd never felt before, a positive glow. Something changed in me. I had a long think about that experience and realised that I didn't feel any events were tailored to introverts, and this really frustrated me. I thought to myself, I do like people, I do like to socialise, so what's the problem? I knew there were barriers to entry, but never really sat down to articulate these. These were some of mine that I did manage to articulate eventually. I don't like small talk, preferring deeper, more meaningful conversation, which sometimes kind of felt inappropriate at parties and socials. I remember often being tagged as the serious one. Second point is, I don't like how people try and command the conversation and there's an apparent fight for attention. I don't like that feeling where I feel like I should be contributing, or like if I'm not, my worth is in question. And then the final one is the biggest one. Why are you so quiet? You haven't said anything in ages. I've seen no evidence that these problems are being addressed in social circles around me or society on a wider scale. And that's quite frustrating. So I saw this as an opportunity to design and build the type of environment I wanted to see. So I analysed all of the reasons why I thought existing meetup events didn't work based on my experience, and then asking others I felt shared similar experiences, and came up with ways to make it welcoming to other introverts. The idea was simple: make this a safe haven for introverts where they would feel valued and respected, and protect the environment at all costs, within reason of course. I would do this by introducing guidelines and event etiquette whilst subtly detracting extroverts from the events. More on this in a future video. How did I do this? Well, the first step was I contacted the main organiser and creator of the group and asked if I could help create events. So I started running my own smaller versions, ones that I felt I could manage. My design and test kind of life philosophy from my previous videos is now being put to the test itself. I had lots of struggles, mainly to do with having the energy myself to run the events. I also had to run events where I was the only one who showed up. Fortunately, I'd usually have a book or my phone with me, and I'm an introvert, so it didn't really matter. However, this did make me question myself and whether it was worthwhile at all. I remember having some jokes aimed at me that it was a pretty stupid idea and I would be mad to expect introverts to turn up to a social gathering. After all, we don't like to socialise, right? These were the low points. It also made me close up about it, and I kept a lot of this pretty secret. I only ran events intermittently throughout the year, every few months when I had time and energy. I was not a strong organiser or leader, had never put meetup events together, let alone know how to attract attention to these kind of events. I was certain that a strong community could be built here. How it evolved. I made the decision to devote my time to it over the last couple of years. Since then, it has grown, and now we have up to 100 attendees come to our fortnightly events. I'll be diving deeper in upcoming videos about all the lessons I learnt, how I dealt with extroverts attending the events, and how the whole experience has changed me as a person. Drop a comment below if you have any specific questions about the event. The buzz is great and people have a great time. People have good conversation and continue to come back to the events where we chat and play board games in a venue we have now practically taken over. I get wonderful feedback about the event from lots of the attendees and members, which helps keep me motivated to keep things going. But I think it's mainly a product of having a place where really like-minded people can get together. Further to the events, we now have a Facebook group and share our skills and interests in our very own kind of skills and knowledge database, where introverts can share what they can help people with and what they might not need help with. I kind of think of it as a true case of introverts kind of united together. So what has it done for me? Well, I've met some of my favourite people who have now become lifelong friends, some of whom are the kindest and caring people I know. As a byproduct, I've also met hundreds of people, and as part of another experiment, saved for a future video, has vastly improved my social confidence game. Upon reflection, I realised that the chances of coming across these types of people are actually pretty small. Check my other video out about how to make friends for introverts to see how I view it and the probabilities. This spurred me on to continue running the events for others to also receive the benefit, especially knowing how difficult the process of organisation is. So that's it for this video, and the next video will contain more details specifically about my observations from running these events and what I've learned. Drop a comment below if you'd like to know anything specific about what happens when you get a whole bunch of introverts together. And if you're interested in learning more about some of the real world experiments I do to optimize my life, click on the subscribe button and hit that bell, as I'll be releasing a lot of content over the next few weeks.